What's up guys, Teddy Striker here, and in this video we'll be talking about Steven Wonderboy Thompson, because he's making his return after his arguably could have been Fight of the Year contender with Kevin Holland. He's coming back to take on another striker, or a bit of a well-rounded fighter, but a guy who likes to mainly strike, in Michel Pereira. He's a very, very exciting Brazilian fighter to watch. I mean, this guy is doing flips in the cage. He's doing all types of crazy kicks. He trains with Johnny Walker, and he's crazy athletic too. And he's got power in his hands. Obviously, he's just one of the most exciting guys to watch in the welterweight division. And now he's actually taking on Wonderboy. You know, before he was taking on a bit of a few unranked guys. I believe he was in the top 15 at one point. He might not be anymore, but he's very, very close to the rankings though. He's close to being ranked. He's an exciting fighter, and Wonderboy is coming back next week at UFC 291. Unfortunately, it's gonna be on the prelims. Wait, actually, since Paula Costa, he pulled out of his fight with Akram Aliskerov, so Costa's out, and he's fighting Khamzat in Abu Dhabi. So I think the Wonderboy fight might actually get bumped up to the main card, which it's actually a really good thing. I actually think that Wonderboy should always be on the main card at this point. He's been in the UFC for I think 10 years or close to, but he's always in great fights. There's a few fights that were not entertaining, not that entertaining, the second Woodley fight and the Darren Till fight, and when Bilal Muhammad just grabbed him and held on to him for 3 rounds, or when Gilbert Burns tried to do the same thing. But outside of that, usually if it's against another striker or against another guy like that, it's gonna be an exciting fight. And Wonderboy, we've seen that he's still got it, even though he's 40. He's still able to just put it on these guys. He's still as fast as he was before, which is crazy. And his combos are still there, his kicks. I mean, he hit Kevin Holland with 5 wheel kicks in that fight. I think it was crazy. He still got it for sure. And this is gonna be a great fight. I think this is a dangerous matchup for Wonderboy, but I think he's got it. This is not the first time he's fighting a guy with a height or reach advantage. He can control distance very well, even though he doesn't have the longest arms, which is one of the reasons he's one of the best strikers in the UFC. Because a lot of times in combat sports, to be a really effective striker, it helps if you have if you're tall, you got a long reach, because you can kick from a far range, you can throw your shots and make your opponent miss. But if you can do the same things as a tall fighter without that height and reach, that just makes you even better, because a lot of times the defenses for tall fighters is different, and if you can still do what they do with that disadvantage, and it just goes to show that if you had their advantages, you'd be even better, an even greater striker. But overall, I think Wonderboy is going to win this fight. I think it's probably going to be by decision. He got a finish in his last fight because Kevin Holland broke his hand. And Kevin Holland was just getting beat up, towards the end of the fight. Kevin Holland had a good first round. I think he rocked him, and then after that, Wonderboy just kind of took over and did what he does. Most of his opponents try to stand up and strike with him, and there's not a lot of times where you see him lose striking battles. Of course, the Darren Till fight was very close. A lot of people thought Wonderboy won, but outside of that, most of the people that beat him have been through grappling, basically, and just kind of stalling out the fight and making it a fight, or even knocking him out, Anthony Pettis. But outside of that, Wonderboy beats everyone on the feet he goes up against, and this is a tricky fight because Michel Pereira is going to explode a lot. Of course, he's pacing himself a lot more nowadays, but he's still exploding like crazy, so Wonderboy is going to have to be aware of that. But Michel Pereira is a guy that tends to gas out quite a bit in his fights, And this fight is gonna be at altitude, which is if you guys like a lot of times like when people fight at altitude, they sort of slow down because they're not used to the climate and time zone. And I hope Wonderboy goes out there like quite a bit of a few days before, and it does change the fight. It's quite a bit because it's like, even if you're the better fighter, you gotta like kind of like still like go there earlier, because if you don't go there earlier and like you're fighting an opponent who's used to that climate and you're gonna slow down, you might have a good first or second round, but then in the third round you're gonna be so like fatigued that you might get like finished or like something like that. If you look at the Usman and Edwards, right? Edwards came there 2 weeks before, but Usman trains in altitude at Denver, so he was like, Edwards had a good first round, a bit of a second round, but then Usman completely like dominated until the head kick. But you got to be careful that you got to go a little bit of time before. But even if like Wonderboy like and Michelle Pereira go around the same time, I think Wonderboy still has the cardio edge, so I don't see him slowing down or like getting caught. If Wonderboy is gonna slow down, I think Michelle Pereira is definitely gonna slow down too. But I think he'll be ready and he'll do his research and be prepared for that, because it's obviously like you gotta do your research, make sure you're sleeping in the elevation chambers, maybe go there 3 weeks before, which he should be there by now, because if you're like only flying out now, that's you're in trouble unless you train at elevation like Justin Gaethje. But Wonderboy, I think he trains in I think North Carolina, but I'm not too sure what the elevation is over there, but it's probably not as much as it is over there in Utah. But I got Wonderboy in this fight.